Hey, book besties. This is Nicole from BookedandBizzie. I'm your host for today's podcast. We will be talking to authors, editors, narrators, and readers about the books that we love to discuss. So sit back, tune in, and enjoy. Happy reading.
So if you guys have not been reading since the 2000s, then y'all missed out on the treat. So I've read a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
And I've probably been reading because I'm a little older. So I've probably been reading since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember reading this story, but I read it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I remember her. Because, I mean, you guys was traditionally published. So this author, Danielle Santiago, is a legend. Stop playing with her. Stop playing on her child. Welcome to the BookedandBizzie podcast. I'm super excited to talk to you because I got some questions.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Let's dive into the circle.
Mm-hmm.
All I need to know is, did Farrah ever meet up with her family? Because obviously I don't remember because I was back in the 90s. But I recall reading that story before, but I read it again. Did she make it? Did they make it to each other?
Actually, that was Farrah. Let me tell you. Let me see. Okay, let me go back. Let me think. Because that was actually 10 years ago. It wasn't the 90s. That was 2000.
No. I'm just saying I've been reading since the 90s.
Oh, okay. But
I remember reading you because.
Golly, I'm trying to remember what happened in the last story because everything rolled over to the other books.
So the last story was Treasure Blue's story, right?
Yeah. But
okay, I'm gonna have to read it today.
I'm trying to think who I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it. I think it was I don't think it turned out good for them. So I don't want to give any spoilers away. Not sure.
I'm gonna read it today.
I can't remember who was the last standing, but I don't think it ended up the way that they thought it was going to end up. I don't think they was able to ride off into the sunset. I will say that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who may have not read it.
So on this project, it was Ashley and Jaquavis, Keisha Irving, yourself, and Treasure Blue. Am I missing someone?
Was it? Didn't Ty Marshall have a story? I can't remember. It seemed like it was. Golly, I'm thinking it was 4 siblings, right? So
yeah.
I could have swore Ty, it may have been 5 books. But if not, I know Keisha Irving had a story.
Right.
I think the other person was Ty. I'm not sure if Ashley and Jaquavis actually wrote, if they did a book or not. It was under Owl, because at the time we were all on Owl, which was their publishing company.
Because based on my research, it was like Ashley and Jaquavis wrote the beginning.
I think it may have morphed out of one of their stories. I think, if I remember correctly. I just remember like each one of us got a sibling to write about. It started with them. So I can't remember I don't think they had a complete book. I think it came out of another book. If I remember correctly. It's been a long time for me and Evelyn. But it came out of another book, but each person took a sibling and it was to write about the siblings' journey as they tried to meet up. Because I think they broke one of the siblings out of jail. And then they had to split up and all make it to the destination point. And I'm not sure who made it to the destination point. I will say that. I will say
now, I know all I'm going to tell you is Farrah made it. If she didn't make it all the way, she made it close.
She did. I know that. I remember that much. And so each book picked up where the other person left off.
How was that working on a project like that where you have to pick up and create a story from someone else's story to then let it go to let somebody else pick up a story?
I think it's fun. It was fun. It was challenging, but not too challenging because you know how like if you read as a writer, if you read a story and you can say, hey, this could go this way, or or if we watch a movie or a show and we imagine where it could have went if they had did XYZ. Mm-hmm. So you know what I'm saying? Like if the character hadn't made this move but had did this, how different the story would turn out. So it's just like what would my character that I'm writing about, what would they do to survive? And and then be able to give your voice in a different writing style. Because I think like my thing was always being known for like strong women characters. Mm-hmm. So and doing things that mainly making moves that having male characteristics in a female. So I think I remember Pharaoh was cutthroat. And that's how you have to be to survive.
Because she wasn't playing no games. She was like, listen, if you in my way, I'm going to get to my siblings. I don't know about you. But I'm going to get to my siblings.
And so when you get in that mind frame of like, what would you do to survive? Like, what would you do to make it to your kids? What would you do to make it to your family? And you get to, write from that perspective. And so, like I said, it was fun. It was challenging, but I remember it was a fun project. And I remember when they first called me and asked me to do it, I was like, oh, wow, this is different. And then dropping, four different books that were about the same story. Mm-hmm. So I remember, I thought that was cool.
So being traditionally published back then and now we have a flood of authors that are independent. What to you is vastly different or the miscommunication between older authors and newer authors?
Oh, well, it's so much. Like the industry is overwhelming. The book business is, I mean, you would think like you hear like and I'm somebody who comes from a background in the music industry. When I was very young, I worked at a record label. So thinking that was cutthroat and grimy, the book business from the beginning was very shady. I was independently published in the beginning. I self-published at first, and then I went to a small publisher because he had a bookstore here in Charlotte, only Black bookstore in Charlotte at the time, and it was huge. Any author who was relevant had to come to that bookstore. So then I went on to Vicky Stringer became my agent, and then I went on to the majors. But independence is better. Being on a major, it will open your eyes. But back to what you were saying, the time I come from, pre-internet, was a lot of word of mouth and a lot of getting outside and hustling. Like we were out, I'm talking about snow like this in New York on the corners selling books, or on a hot July day. Some of them, I don't want to be clipped farm and saying the wrong thing.
Right.
It's a lot of, people say people are not willing to help, but people are not willing to follow advice either. Integrity, originality. There's a lot of things that's, missing. It was a cutthroat game. Like, people always ask me, you're writing. I've had a lot of issues with business. Like Little Ghetto Girl at the small publisher I was at, we sold over 100,000 copies. I barely saw any money because at the time there were 3 big book distributors, mainly out of New York, for African American books, especially independent books. And they basically went out of business, owing a lot of companies a lot of money. And they, didn't care to pay. I don't think like the younger authors who are independent realize the struggles that we went through and the doors we had to kick down. And the people, some of the mainstream Black authors who looked down on us at the time. And then not only they looked down on us, but then when they saw like this was the trend and this is what is selling, they tried to switch their writing style up, or they tried, one guy in particular who swore he was the king of urban fiction. He tried to switch his style up and change your name and stuff, but people were not feeling it because at the time, a lot of stuff, much like how rap is, people wanted stuff to be authentic, like to really feel it, and it sold. But I don't think that they respect that, like, y'all are doing this because boy, we paved the way and we had to take some ass kickings to
But isn't that isn't that the point, is let me break down these doors so that you don't have to, so that you can fly. Let me run so you can walk. Let me crawl so that you can walk. Let me walk so that you can run, and let me run so that you can fly. But
absolutely.
Isn't that I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just trying to understand. Is it the miscommunication is that they're not being recognized anymore, or that the newer authors are not recognizing the way that that you guys broke down doors and barriers?
I don't know. Okay, so like I stay out the fray because one, I had to like have a lot of attitude adjustments and really, I just stayed out a lot of, messy stuff. But I can say back, I know around, Clubhouse time, it was a lot of authors, on talking and getting to mix with younger authors and stuff. Some of them, there was a lot of conversations when you get back to Facebook about, I guess, older authors not, wanting to help or XYZ. Some of the help it wasn't received well, or it's like, oh, I got this, like,
Right.
you old, and I think a lot of us, we didn't want to be how the mainstream authors treated us back then. Because, boy, listen, we'd be on panels with them and they'd be talking cold shit. And it was like they didn't respect the stories, but the stories had to be told. Like everything was a lot of, back then, a lot of more romance style authors or stories. But my favorite authors, like my favorite book was Mama by Terry McMillan. And to me, that was an urban story. Terry's sister, who I think is highly slept on, Rosalind McMillan. I loved her books. And I think those books are urban fiction to me, and they're stories that I could relate to. And Shaneska Jackson, I saw Kelly Reese brought her up the other day. Like, people have no idea. Karen Keonis Miller. Now, one thing I can say about Karen Keonis Miller, she was welcoming from the time I met her. My mom met her on a forum. I think I was still independently published. And Karen, she welcomed all of us with open arms. And that meant the world to me because her books were, I'm talking about, those are some of the books at the time that I read those books like in high school. And so that is one author who I can say. Other people, they came around later, especially when the deals started going out and, for the majors started signing us, then, it kind of changed people's tunes. But so I think like we try to be as nice as possible. But this is an industry where you really have to watch people because people don't always mean well. And even signing to a major, there was another girl who I could have learned a lot from because she still sold a lot, because people don't realize, like, you can kind of say I didn't do well at the majors, but that's because the majors did not want us hustling books. They didn't want us selling books outside. They wanted you to carry yourself with like a prestige, which all that kind of hindered me too, because my first release on a major was Grinding, and they put it out in hardback because they wanted to bring prestige to the genre. That hardback killed me with the I'm sorry, I know certain words I'm not supposed to use.
That's okay.
That hardback, that set me back because a lot of the street vendors, they can't make any money, and that's where a lot of our books were really moving, or the small mom and pop stores. But it was like somebody was in my ear and I could have went to this girl and got plenty of advice on how she was able to, cross over and sell. So it's an industry where people, when you're successful, like any industry, they try to, pitch you together because they want something from you. So you do have to be really mindful. And I learned that a lot. So that is kind of one of the reasons why I have a few really great friends in this industry. But that kind of, some of those experiences soured me on other people. Or
now, there's a big influx of authors who are independently distributing their own books, but I mean not distributing, but they're publishing their own books, but they are publishing through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and but the books are not in the bookstores like they used to be. Like I used to have a time going to Black-owned bookstores, finding books, and they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
Do you think it's designed
I mean, we're
to keep us off the shelves?
it's crazy because I don't think so. I know TikTok really helped with bringing traditional paperbacks like there is analytics to show like the sale of paperbacks jumped because of TikTok like 107% or something. The everything going digital, that has a lot to do with the traditional bookstores going away. But we saw a rise in people opening traditional, small Black bookstores again, maybe around COVID or after COVID. But
Yes.
a lot of them are being run out of business because people are sending them death threats.
Right.
The book ban is hurting. But what I always would tell people when people ask me, once people find out you write books, they ask you, can you help me write a book? Can you give me some advice? At the rise of digital books and ebooks, I would always tell people that do put your ebook out. You don't really have to go the Amazon route if you understand marketing. Like it took me a long time to understand. It was because I went back and got my cosmetology license. Because once I really realized how the industry was, I was like, and I was married by then, and I had extra, well, not extra. I had my other kids. I got my cosmetology license. I knew I had to work, but it was through doing hair. And one of my friends, the hair diagram, through her social media boot camps, that I learned how to really use social media. So at that point, I would tell people, listen, you can put an ebook up yourself independently. You don't have to give Amazon, the bulk of your money. If you can just get on social media and handle your marketing, you can see a lot more of your money.
Right.
I thought it was I'm a traditional paperback person. I think Amazon with those, those 99-cent books that they were pressing people for, people constantly pressing people for a follow-up book, like, really they want a lot of microwave books. I think that kind of it did something to the industry. Like I kind of refused that route. I know, people who they loved it. I think traditional writing and taking your time and dropping a book yearly, I think that, if you still look at like a lot of major authors who still traditionally write, maybe take their time with a book, they still have success. And, instead of putting oversaturating the market, or, I see a lot of times when people release a lot of books in a short span of time back to back. I always used to say there were only a few people that I know could do it, could write really well at a fast pace. Quan Foy being one. My friend Amalika McCall, who, listen, a lot of stuff people read in the industry don't even realize that she ghostwrote it. Somebody else. T. Styles, author T. Styles. I'm talking about people who can write phenomenal and write in, sprints. I haven't read a lot of new stuff because I don't like to read if I'm, planning on working on a project. And some of my projects more lately, either some ghostwriting stuff I did or either scripts and stuff. But there's a lot of new authors that I've learned about on TikTok who I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get their book. You know, I hear a lot of great reviews, so I want to pick up their stuff. And basically, when I go on vacation in the summertime, I want to have like 20 books with me so I can catch up on what's out there. But
Can
that the
you talk
digital
to me
age,
about writing though? As far as,
huh?
I mean, because I know a lot of authors have gone from being traditionally published to ghostwriting. What is that like for you?
Listen, I'm not the ghostwriting person. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't. If it worked well, if like I can take a story and they say, hey, you just write a book and here, just the project, outline it, do it yourself. I have outlined a lot of projects for other ghostwriters too. Like, this is how the story goes, and that works well for me. But when you get into, it's like one ghostwriting project I had, oh my God, it soured me for a long time. And partially it was my fault because, um, you know, to give you a little backstory, I was raised by my grandmother. I mean, my mom raised me too. My parents, because they're still married. But I grew up almost like a little sister to my aunts. And so when my grandmother passed in 2019, my grandfather passed shortly after that. And I'm talking about, I was extremely close, extremely grieving. During this time, I'm doing this project that someone has begged me to do. And even once my grandfather passed, like 17 months later, I was like, hey, I can't go forward with this. But they begged me. And so it was like, sometimes I should have made the professional decision to say, hey, no, I'm walking away because I can't give you what you want. And so that project, it really drained and soured me on ghostwriting. But ghostwriting, especially back in the Triple Crown days, that was that was quick and easy money, and it's still quick and easy money for a lot of people. One thing I hate about ghostwriting, for me personally, I hate giving away something because I'm going to give you my best. I'm not going to give you no bad work. I hate giving away some of my good ideas, and I'm like, hey, dang, I could have put this in a book or something.
Listen,
So I don't, that's one of those things. So it's not for me, but I know some people who do it well. It's a way to stay afloat because listen, what I want to tell people about, independence is great, especially when you can count your money yourself. Understanding contracts, because boy, I have not earned out from my deal with Simon and Schuster yet. I got two separate contracts. And baby,
wow.
Little Ghetto Girl still outsells my other books combined. And so, so many people are like, oh, I didn't even know you wrote another book. And I'm like, okay, like I can't, that book just still by leaps and bounds. But one thing, people, if you're, itching for a major deal, you think like once you see that you sold this many books, I should be done paid that money back. My advances paid back. But really, you have to sell for whatever your deal was. Just say one of the deals I had was like for 150. I needed to sell 150,000 books. I need $1 for every book. It takes $1 equals to a book for me to earn back my advance. Never mind, they may have sold these books for $4. They made their money back. You need to
Right.
split $1 for book. And so that's like what I understand is, even though you're not a lawyer read my contract, but the contract was a good contract by industry standards. But not understanding that, like, you're like, okay, I sold all these books and, I should still, I should be seeing a royalty check. The business model of how, at the time Simon & Schuster was owned by Viacom, y'all should be able to, you have a publicist, she should be able to call and get me on anything that Viacom's own, TV or radio wise. But it didn't work like that. And publicists in the traditional industry, they have a high turnover rate. So they get a Rolodex of, connections, magazines and stuff, but if they have not established a relationship with those people at those magazines and radio stations or TV shows, there goes how well. So basically, I had to hire. That's why I was like, I know I had to have another profession if I really wanted to push myself while being at the majors, because I had to hire outside publicists on top of, I have a publicist here, and my outside publicist did better for me than, their publicist did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So, okay. I have a whole bunch of questions that's swirling, and I know I got written questions, but I guess my question is now is now that I guess I'm learning about the book business as not as a author, and I'm not an author yet, but I'm learning that they gonna take books any means by any they take your money any means necessary, whether it's the publisher, whether it's the distributor. It's like you're not left with anything, and this is your talent. How do you think we could survive this business if they steadily trying to take everything that you create? If that makes sense.
I get it. I think direct, so independence is what I can preach, honestly. And if you can build up your community online, if you can build up your online community and be able to have, because I see a lot of toxic stuff go on with you building the community sometimes,
Yes.
People don't have no boundaries. It used to be like somebody told me, like, and this was so crazy because I had heard this. I went out for my husband and my niece. We all have like the same birthday around the same time. So we went out to dinner. Somebody at the dinner said to me, "Oh, when your next book coming out?" So, but then online on Facebook, people are wishing me happy birthday, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but we wish you would, put another book out." So, and these are generally things, people would, say to you at a book signing or at the Harlem Book Fair or something. But now, and that's nothing. That's good, clean conversation right there. But I have seen a lot of toxic interactions between authors and readers. And sometimes you put too much of yourself out there, but it's a fine line if you know how to work social media and don't get too, oh God, how can I say it? Just don't get too caught up in it. Set your boundaries and knowing what works. Like when I started having viral videos for content, I was consistent with the content. I'm somebody who I'll go research everything. I'll find out, who has the best advice. So I started consistently posting. I figured out, how social media works, how the algorithm works basically. And I think if you can consistently post and figure out a workflow, you could build up. If you find your community and find what works for your community, you could build up and you could drive people to your website to purchase your book, whether they purchase it paperback or they purchase digitally. I tell people start out digitally now in this age because you could have an ebook, and if you're collecting the funds from your ebook, you could take that and invest. Because one thing about ebook sales, very little overhead. Even the majors, when ebooks really started to pick up, I got a letter from Simon & Schuster like basically we're going to pay you 25% because there's no overhead. We can't take as much of the money because we're not having to print a book. We don't have to there's no shipping or anything. So they gave us more money. So with that said, I always tell people if you put the book out digitally, you have to pay for your cover, pay for some marketing maybe, and if you could put it out on your own platform, then and that's the thing in any industry right now, you hear a lot of people say, hey, build your platform up, direct people to your platform, to your website, because you don't know if this stuff could fall apart tomorrow. You don't know if you could be permanently knocked off a TikTok, the other big platforms. So always direct people to your website or your app. So if they buy from you directly and you can collect that money, collect that profit yourself, then you can keep investing and keep building and into your book. And paperbacks, I don't know, I guess because I'm from an older time too. It's nothing like the feel of a paperback for me.
Right.
Reading on screen, it's just something about the feel of the book. Like I still write books by hand, then type. because it's nothing. I don't feel connected to the computer or to the or back in the day to a typewriter the way I feel connected when I'm just writing longhand. So I think a lot of stuff that is like how do you say it, traditional stuff is almost going to be like something people treasure, like having a hardback or a paperback or something you can hold in your hand is going to be a treasured item, almost like a collectible, especially in the artificial intelligence age we're living in now.
You had a question in the chat. So could you negotiate a better deal with an attorney or agent representation?
Well, of course, I mean, with the majors, I had an agent, and I don't think there's any other way to really go about it. And you can negotiate a better deal, and you can negotiate out of a contract. You can buy stuff back. It's certain stuff they're not going to let go, because sometimes if they see that you are like you're on the bubble or the cusp of doing something great, whether it's again, they feel like, oh no, we'll miss out on the opportunity to collect. But you can always get a better deal with your agent or your attorney, especially somebody who knows the industry. But just always making sure that your agent has your best interest at heart. Like I had to and know the rules of the industry, because I don't talk bad, because I've been through some stuff, but Vicky was my agent. I don't talk bad about Vicky, like a lot of people could really get on here and say a lot of things, but as my agent, we went through some stuff where I was able, for me, fortunately, and being at Atria/Thomas Schuster, I was able to separate her from my contract, because it came down to that. Like, you got to know who getting your money. And if, if Thomas Schuster send my agent a check, and that check, once, she write me a check and that check bounce, that's it. We're not doing that no more. So, but unfortunately, other people, there's another major that my friends were signed to, they could not separate it unless the agent gave permission. So, wow. And that led to one of them, somebody I'm talking about, who had a huge success as an urban fiction writer. That led to her not putting out another book, because it was like, I'm not turning a book and y'all not separating. She won't give permission. You won't separate us. I'm not turning no book, because I might not see my money. So
I think that readers sometimes forget that when you're writing a book, it costs money. It costs you your time. It costs money to publish and distribute, to edit, to some people may not have the capabilities to do visuals. They have to pay for covers. It's costly. And I think sometimes readers forget all they want is what they want. And I've seen it time and time again where they talk real greasy sometimes. And then sometimes, I'm a person that the story is the story. They don't like how it's ended. It might be an error, or it might be a little lapse in time. It's beyond me, but they go into it with a little red pen, or they have preconceived ideas about the author, because they might present one way, but they might write a different way. They don't take the time to just read the story. And I think that we as readers have to have a little grace. Take the story for what it is. Either you like it or you don't. I don't need to know if you DNF'd it, if it was going slow for you, or if it was just not making sense. Okay, that's fine. It is what it is. But I don't need to know that you didn't like the ending. I didn't need to know that. Let me decide if I like the ending, because I might like it. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind a couple of typos. It doesn't bother me. But when I see it consistently, because you just didn't get an editor, or you didn't run it through a program or something to at least catch most of it, that's when I have a problem. I'll be like, okay, let me just close this book. Let me move on to the next. But I think everybody has to be, in this day and age of social media, everybody got to be seen. They've got to have a comment on every little thing. It's ridiculous sometimes. But some of these authors, you don't have to clap back the way y'all clap back.
Girl, listen,
they can clap it back, baby.
Huh? I know, and I mean, and I guess it's how you come at them. Like you come at somebody crazy, like you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. But some stuff you have to ignore, like
yes,
y'all don't know me in real life, like I don't. Some stuff just don't need no response. Some stuff. One thing about it, when I got monetized on social media, I stopped like really going back and forth with people. And I'm not somebody to go like it was never none of my readers. It was just like like I had one post that did really well, like 1 million views, and it had something to do with DIY stuff. But I got a lot. I'm talking about. I know the negativity runs the algorithm, and I can take constructive criticism and stuff. It was a lot of racist comments too, and so a lot of older pilgrims calling me gal in the comments and stuff like that. And so
Lord.
I was like. I was like, y'all keep running the day. And I think that's when they really got mad. And I was like, oh, y'all negative comments is just running the post up. Like, not even going back and forth with you because you don't know me in real life and you could be a bot. So I'm not, not doing that. Some people get too personal. Some people say some crazy stuff and you have to check it. And see, back in the day.
But you got to know when to check it. Like, it was a particular author. I didn't read the book, so I'm not going to speak on the book, but it was something to the fact of, and y'all probably already know who I'm talking about, but I'm going to say it anyway, that she used 31 days in a particular month that didn't have 31 days. So instead of clapping back the way she clapped back, she could have just simply said in her author note, hey, in this author's world, there's 31 days in each month. Or this particular days holds special value. I know that it's not a realistic date, but this is what's going on in the author's note. Or she could have just simply said to the person that came for her, in this world, this is what happens. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I didn't explain that before, but this is what's going on. But she went deep. She went deep. And I was like, baby, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it.
A hit dog will holler too. So,
Yeah.
If
I mean, and I don't
put
care.
Out something.
I mean, I don't care that you use the date. Just explain why you use the date so that when I'm going forward in your catalog, I'm not saying, oh, this is crazy to me. It's not matching.
And
what are you thinking about that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Take the constructive criticism sometimes. Like I'm good with constructive criticism, or hey, or it was a mistake, or this, or if something has bad grammar and stuff, like hey, I know like this was, I rushed this, I did something, moving forward, it won't be like this. Something, just take the constructive criticism sometimes and just go ahead. Because the thing is, sometimes you look crazy, arguing with people, and arguing with your readers. That person spent their money, so whatever my comeback is gonna be, it's not gonna be nothing, outlandish. Because what is that thing? Is that thing gonna be serious 5 minutes or 5 years from now for you to talk crazy to a supporter? You know what I'm saying? So you just gotta. I don't know, but a lot of people who probably are out now, they come from a time of, I have to look at some people like, hey, they were brought up in the digital age. They've been brought up, their middle school and high school years. They're adults now, but social media was around, and they used to going back and forth. Or, my ego can't take this hit. Like a lot of that stuff was, face to face. And I mean, and my stuff went with readers. I had stuff with authors back in the day who like came at me wrong, and I'm like, I'm 1 foot outside and 1 foot, in the book industry. So like, you do something bad to me and then see me at the Harlem Book Fair and you trying to shake my hand and talk to me, I'm like, go that way. So, and we ain't got to have no back and forth, because if we go back and forth, I'm gonna take it somewhere you probably not prepared for me to take it. So we had to learn in person stuff. So if I can control myself in person, I definitely can control myself on social media. And so sometimes you just have to, it's almost like how even with the music industry, how a lot of artists don't have etiquette because there's no A&R, there's no training, stuff they used to get. Now if you're a viral hit, you're pushed out there. And so when people say something to them, they got to go back and forth, they got to clap back. And then it's with readers, because the book industry is supposed to be more, conservative, more intellectual. I mean, a lot of that went out the window a long time ago. So, I mean, nobody, it's a lot of ethics and morals went away about 15 years ago. That, people don't care. So, and like I said, a lot of these authors who, especially ones who go word for word, they were brought up in a different time. And so this is what they're, used to. I don't know if I'm freezing. My thing says poor connection. I'm going to get my charger in a second, but.
It's like, you're fine. So quick question. Okay. So pre-pandemic, you really didn't have to write trigger warnings or author's notes, but now it's mandatory. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a sign of the times. Everybody is triggered by something, and I'm somebody, I can respect people triggers. Like I'm right in between that time where like we have understandings about feelings and accountability, whereas some people from 10 years older than me, they don't care. Like, man, please, nobody cared about our triggers. It's a sign of the times, and sometimes if you got this in the book. But also, my thing is, if you, why do I got to put an author's note? What this book gonna be about. What type of don't come to get no. Even though like they label me as contemporary women's fiction, but don't come get no urban book or no book that's gonna be about the streets. And like I gotta write a trigger warning about violence, right. Especially if it's that type of street book. Like this is not no young adult, no YA, where you're not supposed to have all the, extra stuff in it. I don't know. I would just tell you like this. I'm not writing no author note. Sorry. I mean,
I don't mind a good author note. I think some authors are gifted in writing author's notes, where some are they're just, whatever. I'm a person that will probably skip the triggers. If I know who the author is, like Toya, I can read her author note every day, all day, because I know it's comical, and I'm gonna laugh before I get into this story. But I really don't necessarily have to read it because I'm a blind reader. It's not much that sticks me, but there is a few. Like we were buddy reading a book, and she was like, "Girl, it's cringy in the beginning, but once you get past that, it'll be fine." I was like, "Girl, I can't get through it. I just can't." But I leave that for the text message. I don't have to put that online. It's okay. We moved on. You know what I'm saying?
But
it's okay.
I mean, my thing is the synopsis is not enough. Like, if the synopsis is well written, and I don't like writing synopsis. Like that is something. Get at somebody else and let them, summarize what the book is about. So I don't like the fact I don't like writing synopsis mean like I'm definitely not gonna want to write an author's note. And if I do write an author's note, it's gonna be something cute and comical. Like, hey, if you know what time it is, you picked up the book. If you don't like violent stuff, kidnappings, XYZ, this is not the book for you. And so that would be, and I mean, and that is. And I don't want to be, taken as, oh, that is really, God, what do you call it? Let me see. Maybe use my words right. I don't want to be taken as like, oh, well, she don't care. But it's like, imagine, I can't even, but I bet you a lot of times now, the authors know, for some older writers, they not coming from the authors. I bet that, especially if they assigned to a traditional publisher, somebody writing them author's notes for them. I'll just say that because the older crowd, I definitely know. You go like a generation older than me or something, a decade older than me, they don't care about none of that stuff. And, I was never one. That's why a lot of them don't really have a lot of social media presence a lot of times because they can't, and it's where you say like the person clap back wrong. You get an older author, they may clap back really wrong too because a lot of stuff is nonsense to them. A lot of stuff is nonsense that you would even, be able to talk to me crazy. Like they are definitely not big on disrespect. Like so, yeah, I don't. It's a different time. It's a different time in the book game.
So, okay, I have a question, and I hope I don't rub no older authors the wrong way, but I feel like you can handle it. Do you feel like we're losing sight of what street lit is? Like, I think that when you picked up an urban fiction, you knew what street lit was, you knew what romance was, and now they're blind. They're putting the two together. Are we losing street lit?
I don't know if we're necessarily losing street lit, because a lot of times I guess when urban fiction like really exploded, I did read a lot of street literature, but I would always say urban fiction is a book that's written in an urban setting, versus if it's street fiction, it's about some street drama. That's how I would classify it. And a lot of times, sometimes you had street romance or you had urban romance, and I think the lesson it was a lot of times it was a lesson in urban fiction or street fiction back then. Then a lot of stuff started glorifying it. A lot of books started glorifying street life in opposed to like, hey, there's supposed to be a lesson in here. It's supposed to be a lesson in like, I always tell a story like one of my friends, I was friends with this a girl, and I was friends through her. I met her. I was friends with her man first, and he called me mad at me one day. He was like, "Man, what you put in this book?" I put something about him in the book because she read the book and she was like, I can't do this no more. It's done. And so I was like, I didn't put anything. You're not even. Why would she even associate that? But she said through reading the book, she was able to, and he was big in the streets. She was able to see how he was manipulating her into staying in a relationship with the money, the gifts, and what I'm saying. So sometimes people get a lesson, or I'm trying to give you the lesson of you going to jail, you going to prison. Somebody, it's death. It's not. You can't skip around those things. It's bad stuff. It's always the constant anxiety. It's in the runs are short a lot of times. So a lot of times, you're supposed to take that lesson, like, because who wants to go to jail? Who wants to go to prison? It's not a playground. And so seeing this stuff happen to these characters, because it always starts out with the glorious part, but by the end, they have went through something traumatic. But some of the stuff should be just classified as soap operas. Because some of them, people want never-ending stories. It's like, how much can this one character or these characters go through? Bringing them back to life, all kind of stuff. But I think, I don't know. I think it needs to be it needs to get back. Some stuff just needs to get back to the storytelling. And
I
even
agree,
if you have
everything
to go
is
back,
not a love story. Every street lit book is not a love story. I need people to understand that.
Exactly.
It is not a love story.
And yeah, and it can be the relationship factors in there, because you, even no matter what you're doing, whether you're on the right side or the wrong side of the law, people have relationships, and it can the dynamics of what relationships happen in the can be shown in the story. But like you say, everything's not a romance novel. And I kind of saw that whole debate being played out recently. But yeah, everything is not romance. It's just because somebody is in a relationship in the book that's in a street setting, it does not make it a romance novel.
And 9 times out of 10, in real life, a lot of them don't make it. They're unalived. They're paralyzed. That got shot up. They in jail forever. They not breaking out of prison like that. Most. I mean, I understand it's fiction, but if you try to be realistic about it, every black man ain't a kingpin. I'm just saying.
Now that's what. Girl, listen, boy, listen. Somebody got to be a worker, okay? And
Somebody.
I don't. And everybody not choosing the BBL girl either. You meet a lot of people. That's the thing too. Like it can be fiction and be relatable, because I went through some stuff, just like a certain rapper's music can be relatable because I've lived certain things. But then there's also like, hey, it's fiction, and that's where the author's note should come in. Hey, this is a work of fiction. Stuff is not gonna turn out well. Don't take this story to influence your life, or don't try this shit at home, is what the author's note should say to some people, especially because listen, it's gonna be some prison time in it, and if you don't go to prison, people got to question like, well, what did you do to stay out of prison? Because it's a, I mean, it's hey, I'm not gonna say success stories, but the success story is making it out alive. So there, people who can say, hey, I did this and I changed my life, but all these people who they writing, these people supposed to be El Chapos and stuff, and hey, they live a perfect life. It don't work like that. And I think that sometimes, like, there were some books that were like really gritty, really about the the lower level, the street level stuff that people really could subscribe to, because that was 9 times out of 10 more of what they saw, versus everybody, we got this huge mansion, we living it up. And back to what I was saying, a lot of the dudes, if you being real about it and you really, know how life goes, they ain't choosing the BBL no way. When you see who they got, it's a lot of, and trust me, because I'm a tomboy, but it's a lot of plain, it's a lot of plain Janes. They don't want the girl that's outside, they don't want like the kingpin and the stripper falling in love and riding off into the sunset. That's not who they choosing. Even though, hey, some of them, that might be who they riding with on the side. But then when you look at who at home, who watching the money, who know where everything at, it might be a little girl, some girl that was a nerd that they went to school with, that they fell deeply in love with, and she inside the house, she ain't, she got control of everything. If you want to be like, real about what, should go into this. But they don't, some of them losing the street, because when people who fantasize about the street, who've never like, lived it or had any adjacency to it, they can't really tell that story. So that's why if you're telling it through rap songs, or writing your books because of some stuff you heard, and there's a lot of flawed people out here now. There's nothing, solid about it. And I tell people, I told my son, like, hey, listen, what's out there ain't for you, because number one, if you choose it, you gotta be stand up. And you shouldn't want that for your kids. You don't want that for nobody, because it's all a facade anyway. But if you choose it, you gotta stand on your word. If you get in trouble, you can't tell on nobody else. Like,
ain't no snitching. You on your own.
And see,
you
now,
gotta stand up and take it.
Yeah. And now social media, like, look, the biggest viral social media stars right now all got paperwork history. They done took the stand, but people are subscribing to that, and you couldn't do back in the day. Like, somebody will do something to you, and I still feel like people would do something to somebody, but you can't. It's too much going on. But that's not what I want to implore to everybody. Is like, that's not, or implore to the youth. That's not a life you want to live. Especially when there's so many other ways now. You got technology at the tips of your fingers. You can explore so many more avenues and make way more money than you can make, so I had these people thinking, hey, I gotta go get me I gotta try to go get me a brick and turn it into 24 bricks and selling that because that's a lot of people who read these books, you know, you just gotta be accountable for your words. That's just what, I say. And I think it has to be standards. The standards, the titles, the copying people, just flat out stealing people stories, the outrageous titles. I feel like some of the titles have kind of subsided because at one point the titles were out of control. They were horrible. Like, I mean, I was just like, you can't make this stuff up with y'all titling these books or flat out stealing somebody else's title. So,
Right.
It's just, I think it has to be time for some accountability, being able to really write and tell a story. Um, integrity in your work. I think that's a lot of times missing. And I think you can go more mainstream than being like, into one little corner where, people who don't, care about any of that. You could
Right.
become, big and successful. That's why I was telling like one time when I was that ghostwriting project that really drained me. He was like, oh, but I want this to be in my voice. And I was like, listen, your narrator needs to tell the story. If you want to, this person was, and he had the background. He had a great story. He wanted to be able, he was already going speaking to juveniles and stuff like that. But I'm like, hey, listen, if you want these people to buy these books at this facility, you need to, your narrator voice has to come correct. You need to be, that your characters can talk any kind of way. They could speak with the slang, but if you really, and you don't have to lose your voice. Like I could still have my voice, but I'm going to write grammatically correct. It's gonna be polished. But you can let your characters act up. Your characters,
Yes.
you could, they have your voice so you could come through like that. But if you want to like really see success and, reach people who probably wouldn't abnormally, get your work or something, but your work speaks for itself, and the more polished it is, the higher levels you can reach. Back in the day, the Barnes and Nobles on Wall Street sold a lot of urban fiction, and we couldn't understand why. And I remember someone spoke to was like a lot of guys from Wall Street were buying the books because they were living vicariously through the books. And so you'll be surprised who will read a well-written book. And I feel like some advice we took as independent when I was younger, because I was 21 when I wrote Little Ghetto Girl, and coming out with a lot of, grammatical errors, we took that hit for grammar and not, stuff not being polished. I don't think in 2025, 2026, independently, too much technology, too many resources. You should be putting out your work is not polished or a lot of grammatical errors.
Right.
So
and that's all
that's
all I'm saying. It's too many resources, it's too many, I'm just saying just to get rid of most of it. Just to get rid of most of the grammatical errors, you can put it through Grammarly or something like that, just to get that the dialogue is a dialogue because again, they don't speak like us. Right?
Yeah.
They don't, they can't infiltrate the dialogue, but you can just the other parts of, if you're writing the first person or third person, just the context of it has to be grammatically correct.
Yeah, because I remember Malika Darrow, I love her. That's who gave me my deal at Adria. And at the time, she was the chief editor. But I remember she outsourced. This lady was only supposed to be checking for grammatical errors, not content. But the lady was like, she was some bougie lady from she had some position like at Essence and another place, but I remember she was checking the content, and she said that I think I had a character who was doing two different types of drugs, an upper and a downer, and she was like, "Oh, people don't do this, and they don't. They usually choose one drug." And I was like, "Girl." So my editor, Malika, was like, "Don't pay her no attention. Like, just go ahead. She doesn't know." She's like, "Even I know that's speedballing." So you can anything that, like, even now if you use artificial intelligence to to go over your editing, anything that you don't want changed, you even back when we had, like, we didn't I have not had a book where I had to edit on screen, I don't think, until maybe the teens, the 2010 to 2020. Before that, they would send you a big binder like this with your book printed out page by page and red stripe, and you had to take a blue pencil and write accept, or or leave it the same. So you could keep stuff where you want to. You don't have to worry about changing your content, but as long as the grammar is correct and polished, and stuff isn't repeating itself. I knew before we had the AI technology we have now, I knew people who would buy, I can't remember which program, but it was a script writing program. But they would run their books through that script writing program because it would catch, like, if you had a character on page 110 and she had red hair, but on page 120 you said she had blonde hair, it would catch it and say, "Hey, this character, this is two different descriptions," or something,
Right.
So the technology is out there and it's been around now. So I just think people, they should take their time, even, independent, because, you're independent, you're going to catch more flack, and then now here you are arguing on social media with your supporters because people are going to point out, "Hey, oh, that was a terrible read."
And you did explain why her hair changed color. Her hair color changed. I can't talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Did she get a dye
Let's
job?
switch this a little quick because I don't want to take too much of your time. I just have a couple of questions. Out of your catalog, what is your favorite book?
Whew. Now I think it's a hard toss up between. I always say grinding. I think grinding is still my favorite. And a lot of people who read Little Ghetto Girl didn't get to experience grinding just because, like I said, it came out in hardback. But then the conglomerate is, I don't know. I love writing that book, but it's still grinding. Grinding beats out anything else. It's my favorite.
Which book do you want, if someone was to start in your catalog, where do you want them to start? A new reader.
Even though, like, you grow as a writer, and like I said, I was young and still fresh from outside when I wrote Little Ghetto Girl. If you read Grinding or Lure the Game, even the conglomerate, to understand any of those books fully, you need to read Little Ghetto Girl first. And that's just to understand who Kisa Kane is and why she is so prevalent in the following books. Because really, Little Ghetto Girl, it's the three books, Little Ghetto Girl, Grinding, and Allure the Game. They're all part of the Harlem Story series. But you could read them independently. But Allure the Game is pretty much like a part 2 for Little Ghetto Girl and Grinding, like to follow up on Kisa and Kennedy's characters. Kisa is the main character in Little Ghetto Girl, and Kennedy is the main character in Grinding. And they're related, they're cousins. So to fully understand, like, you can get the books independently, but if you really want the full circle, read Little Ghetto Girl first. That would be my choice.
What book was hardest for you to write?
Probably Allure the Game. And it was just the hardest because of, I think by the time I wrote it, I had my daughter. I'm trying to think, was Morgan born? I don't know, I hadn't had Morgan yet. So Allure the Game probably was, because that's the first time I'm writing. I think that's the first book I wrote since I gotten married, and just having a full-time family. And then, I think I might have been going through something with the publisher also. So for me to sit down and buckle in and write it, it was a little challenge. But it's one of those things like once I start writing and I get in the flow, I'm good. But it took a while for me to get into the flow with writing a little bit again.
Okay. Are you coming back to the literary space?
I am. I mean, I have like I said, I had to get the business under control because it's a lot of bad business out there, and just making sure that I could write independently. Because even though I think like one of my last books, which I had to have like a publisher put a book out that I didn't even want to deal with that publisher, but just making sure they don't want the rights to your next book, because that's one thing that of course, deal with. Even if you're at the end of your contract, you got to give them the first option for your next book. So there was some hold up with me writing in. And I have some unreleased stuff in the chamber. Some stuff is old, but I don't know. I'm having fun with script writing and storytelling through digital storytelling. But I definitely, God, I don't know. I'm just like, well, I don't even know what more y'all want to happen with Kisa, but I definitely have a follow up in the works for that I think that brings you the older, more mature Kisa Kane.
Okay.
And,
I'm gonna go back and read Little Ghetto Girl because I don't think I've ever read that one. I don't recall reading that one, but I do remember reading The Circle because I think I was back in 2018. I might have was doing a deep dive in Ashley Jaquavis, and I remember reading that. I do, but I don't think I read the last book. Go figure. Dog it, I just had a question. If you could bring any character to life, or any book to life, as far as bringing it to film or TV, which book or character would it be?
I think everybody wants a little ghetto girl, and I actually have had my Allure of the Game was actually optioned for movie rights before. And then we didn't go back to the second option because I think it was optioned when like the recession like first took hold, the big recession. And so the director that optioned it, he had a hard time getting investors at the time. But there's a fully written script. But I think that would be probably that one. But more, I know everybody wants a little ghetto girl. But I think Allure of the Game, because I had to learn in film it's different. You can tell the full story without actually, exactly what happened. And some people try to, do exactly what happened in the book. But you can kind of combine, you can give the background through storytelling and film. But I think just seeing Allure of the Game is already in the script and how well written the script was. I don't know, just in my mind, that's just the one. Or the conglomerate, but I think everybody wants to see Kisa Kane on the big screen.
Okay. What was my question? I have your Mount Rushmore. Do you have a list of authors that you would like to see on Mount Rushmore?
Mine is Mildred Taylor. I don't know if y'all may have to go look up Mildred Taylor. Let the Circle Be Unbroken. This is like one of my childhood. Mildred Taylor, Rosalind McMillan. Probably for me, of course, it's hard because then how many do you get? Because where does Zora Neale Hurston go? Toni Morrison. I can't. Terry McMillan. Hey, that's a story for another day.
Somewhere else. You got opportunities. I got two more questions.
Terry McMillan. And like I said, Rosalind McMillan, but Terry McMillan, because reading Terry McMillan as a kid, that changed my life. So
Yes.
definitely she's on my Mount Rushmore.
Wow. If you can induct 3 authors into the Author Hall of Fame, who would they be?
Oh God. That is hard. That is hard. I don't know. If I could, I mean, there would have to be more authors, but some of my 3, I mean, you can't do it without naming the greats. Oh, you can't do it without Alice Walker.
Nope.
You can't do it without, and then I have to throw somebody I know personally because I just, like I said, she's carried the industry silently. That people just don't, she don't even get the, because you're not supposed to know who Ghost wrote a book, first of all. But a lot of people who, there are a lot of, big time favorites whose a lot of their catalog is Ghost written. But I would have to say Amalika McCall. This is, because it has to be my, I got friends, so. God, let's see.
Got one more.
Did I say Toni Morrison already?
You said Alice
I
Walker.
said Alice Walker, right?
Yeah.
Malika McCall. Dang. And then there's Terry McMillan. I mean, it's just her work, just everything, her catalog, the movies, everything. I mean, they would definitely be in the Hall of Fame, but I know there are others who are going to be there. So that's not the only 3, but those are 3 I definitely would put into the Hall of Fame.
People don't realize that's a hard question to answer because my answer changes maybe weekly. 5 questions, and we're gonna let you have your day.
Okay.
What have you learned about yourself from the first time you wrote the book to now as an author?
As an author, that you grow with every book, with everything you write, you grow, and you should. There's always room for development. And if you think like, hey, you can't let your ego get in the way. But sometimes, like I know as an author, like I would stand in my way. I would, put up a mental block. But there's always room to grow, and always read your book from a reader's perspective, not like I wrote it. Like I learned early on, like step outside of myself and like how would this how would a reader relate to this story? How would they understand it? How would they like it? And I think that helps you to grow as a writer.
Okay. I like that advice. I like that. Describe yourself in one word.
Oh, goodness. Probably daring. I've been daring my whole life.
I like that. Fill in the blank. Blank is life.
Shit, life is life. Life be life.
Life be life.
And it's life, honey. It is life right now.
My pen is.
It's strong.
I like that.
It still works. It's still working.
Listen, I can't wait till you come back. Like for real. Like seriously. I can't wait. I like to see when more seasoned authors return with a pen and then they come back slaying stuff. You hear me?
And that's what, yeah, and I think that's a part of the thing because you got to get over that, like, self-doubt. And you have to also, like, examine, like, people want me to come back, but hey, you're not going to get that. I'm not 21 no more. I'm not 25. I'm not 30. I'm in my 40s now. So, and I think your writing also, you can't force people. You can't let people force you to give them what you gave them back then. Like you can still be quality, but like I said, you have to show growth, and you have to write from where you're at. And I think life experiences should come across in your writing. Your character, your character growth, and your character's growth should come across when you're writing. And this is something you have been doing for years, and you can't come back and give the people the exact same thing before, because you should have shown some maturity. You can't be afraid to show your maturity in your writing either.
Right. All right, so let's play a little this or that. Contemporary romance or historical fiction?
Whew. It's I'm big on history. I loved history, so I would say, can you do a blend or this or that? So, me, historical fiction.
Romantic suspense or romantic comedy?
Romantic suspense. Thrillers.
Enemies to lovers or arranged marriage?
Whew. Enemies to lovers seems enemies to lovers.
Erotic or dark romance?
Dark romance.
Fantasy or paranormal?
Golly, are they not the same sometimes?
I think with fantasy it's more magical.
So, and are we talking, let me say, I'll just say, sorry, fantasy, to stay on the safe side. Fantasy.
Horror or suspense?
Suspense.
Secret baby or fake relationship?
Ooh, that is, you can get that secret baby football kicked up the field somewhere. Ooh, I don't like secret babies. Secret baby probably is a lot more. It's a lot more drama. Secret baby, I'll go with secret baby.
Okay. I already did that. Print or audio?
Oh God, print for me. Print.
Plot or characters?
Characters. It's got to have a plot for it to be a good book, but characters can survive plots. So characters.
Surprise ending or reading ahead?
I think surprise ending.
Series or standalone?
Standalone. I mean, stand. I can take a standalone. It would work great for me. I know the readers don't like standalones, but I can take a standalone because wrap the story up and I know what happened.
So and you're done. Move along.
Move along, because because a series can be never ending.
Okay. Kindle or audio?
Kindle, I guess, because you can have that white paper background like you're reading a book. So Kindle. I think you take stuff in better when you read it because your mind has to process it.
I agree.
Versus you hearing it. So yeah.
Even though I listen to The Circle and I love Nicole Small, the narrator. Oh my God, I love her.
Yeah, I never listened to it on audio, but I saw because Anna J did a review on it, and I thought she was saying she read it, but then she's like, no, when I was listening to her review, she was saying she listened to it on audio. So I may have to go and listen to it. And then
Nicole, I love the ability that Nicole Small has. She can not only just do a few 2 or 3 or 4 female voices, she can do 2 or 3 or 4 male voices too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go listen to it.
Books or movies?
Books, because I mean, listen, I was a book lover since a kid, and I think you get more of the story through a book.
I agree.
For time's sake, with a movie, you don't get to fully understand the character sometimes. But so it's books.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl. Night owl.
Country living or city living?
For me, because if it's north or south, I've lived in the city my entire life. But I mean, I'm a country girl at heart, but city living.
Kidnapping. No. I'm sorry. Yeah, kidnapping or forced proximity. Did I ask you that? No, I didn't.
So you said kidnapping versus
forced proximity.
Forced proximity.
Read quietly or with music?
Read quietly.
One more. Contemporary romance or erotica?
Contemporary romance. I'm just,
listen, to each his own. It's your preference.
I know. I'm just saying, I don't know, erotica took on a life of its own, and sometimes
they go deep.
I'm more for the story,
They go deep.
Yeah, because some people they have to. To me, it's like they try to outdo the last person, or make it more erotic, and then you kind of just delve into the land of, okay, is this erotic or raunchy or straight porn? So, teach his own. I don't want everything sitting in my mind, every description.
Right.
I
like one of the authors, if they do write erotica, they'll say this does not have a plot. This is straight fucking. Okay, I know what I'm getting myself into, but when you mask it as there's a plot, I was like, well, where is the plot? Because it's more screwing going on.
Exactly.
If you can invite 5 authors to dinner, dead or alive, who would they be?
Let me see. Dead or alive. I would like to have. Even if I've met them. And one who I should have put in my Hall of Fame. Walter Mosley, super cool, super nice. I would, I would invite him. Golly, one that's gone, Elin Harris.
Ooh, I love him.
Oh, Rosalind McMillan. For some reason, it was crazy. She followed me on Twitter. But I would have loved to, meet her and have dinner with her. Let me see. And 2 more. Probably Mildred Taylor, and maybe Nikki Giovanni is somebody I would have loved to have met and had dinner with, and be able just to talk to them and pick their brains.
Okay. Me and Latoya, we talk all the time about the authors that we love, and Elin Harris is like at the top of my list. So I think I was introduced to him through Mary B. Morrison, through her writing, because I knew they did a collab before. And
she's great author there. Listen, her, J. California Cooper. Oh God, what's this? Dewberry and Grant. Oh my God, so many that I absolutely loved. And I mean, if you could, and Elin Harris, man, and just like if you could sit and listen to his interviews, and I think one of the greatest things that I think I learned from him was like, he didn't read other people's work. I especially don't like to read people's work when I'm writing because I don't want to subconsciously ever put something. But he didn't do it. He didn't do it because he didn't want to down the road, like he would have somebody around him read it. but the best advice was, because then if you come out with something similar, then they can say, hey, you took it, and just not even wanting to subconsciously take in that information to where you could, write it later down the road. So I think, yeah, he was somebody, he had a lot of knowledge, and somebody I would love to talk to. Great stories, great storytelling, and just think about like the challenges that he went through as a, Black gay man, writing, like, in from that time. And that's somebody, from our age group, we read his books, and just, it's like looking back on it, because, just what certain things were not as accepted as they are now. So for us to be able to look back and be like, man, now he really did something that was, awesome. He lived his full truth, and he lived himself. So he is somebody who, like, I would absolutely love to sit down, if I could, and, have a conversation with, as an established author now.
Yeah. Well, we're at the point of, are you going to come outside in 2026? Any new projects dropping in 2026? What can we look forward to? Maybe 2027. What are we doing?
There's a lot of stuff, and I know I wanted to talk about, like, I had to go and take some certifications, and I want to tell people, don't be afraid. I'm not telling you please do not use AI to write your books, but you can utilize AI for different stuff, like visual and digital storytelling. So I've been getting into that a lot, and I know there's a lot. I want to say there's a lot of concern. I know environmental concern, just about AI. Do your research, but also learn AI, because if you have to go to a traditional job, what I'm seeing through taking AI certifications is a lot of these companies are going to AI workflows. And if you don't understand it, or they're hiring people to come in and teach their employees how to utilize AI. So if you shy away from it, or, I see a lot of our community saying, oh, it's terrible. Bro, you ain't gonna be able to get a job, because they're lining up for everything, their entire company or workflow to be ran through. This intelligence is already here, because if you're using any of these apps, that's what you're doing. Google. But I don't feel Google, this one, everything. I know the thing about the data centers and the water, but those data centers are for all of these platforms, for AWS cloud, Meta, everything. So just kind of keep that, in your back pocket. But like I said, me personally, I would not write a book using AI. I don't feel like you can. To me, I think the reader should be able to tell the difference, because it doesn't have a soul. That's why me personally, don't worry about it taking over, because
put my head down.
It can't give you a feeling. Only human experience can put human experience into writing. And as much as it may try to replicate it, or, and I know y'all see right now, any authors who are on here, go check out the Anthropic settlement. You don't have to go with the company. You can get your own lawyer. But Conglomerate was on a list of books that they use to train AI models. And so, there's a big lawsuit. But just check. When I saw it, I just ran my name and found that book on there. But there are a lot of other companies right now. Apple is facing a lawsuit, and I'm not sure if they use the iBooks to do it, to train their models, but they're facing a lawsuit also. So I just don't think they can train their models all they want, but you just never can give that human experience that I think, like, people who truly love books, it won't come across. But as far as, like, using AI tools to edit, to catch grammar mistakes, but for authors, I think digital storytelling, a lot of these historical vertical series you see about, like, history of different states or countries and things like that, and they're using AI to tell those stories. I think you can figure out how you could tell your story using that, either photos or videos. So I have a few vertical series in the work. If you're on, we don't have a TikTok page yet, but if you're on Facebook or Instagram, And I don't even know because I know these platforms that funny. I didn't even mean to say them online, but if you're on that Bloom Theory Creatives, me and two other my fellow writers, we teamed up, and that's gonna be one of the where we tell like micro dramas. But we have another we have another setup that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks where we will have do a vertical series because you see a lot of people coming out with vertical series now, but they will be based on based on our writing. Sometimes one of my books may be featured as a vertical series. And so just utilizing the tools properly and not, utilizing them to just write something and hurry up and put something out. I just always think you should take your time and I feel like people can tell when you have either rushed it or you're not passionate about it. And so that's why I've always been like, I just didn't let people just move me or rush me into something. Because if the business is not right, my mind is not right, and I don't ever want to put out anything that's just not my best. And that's like I was telling you about the ghostwriting thing. I don't want to do it sometimes because I'm giving you my best ideas, and I'm like, wow, and nobody, and not to be egotistical, like I'm not gonna get the recognition for it, but it's still like this is a story I could be telling, or but I'm giving away my best work to somebody else. So I think you should always, put your all into it, and putting out these AI written books that's not going to do it.
And you can tell as a reader, I'm a reader. I'm a reader first, so I can I can tell, and I typically DNF it if it's AI. I've read a few of them only because I was asked as an influencer, but I do give feedback. This is not making sense. I mean, it's not that it's not making sense, but it's like, why are you putting it, and then you another word turned, and then me, and then off. No, that's not the way you construct the sentence. I need you to construct this sentence correctly. So things like that, writing in third and first person at the same time, that drives me up a wall.
Oh yeah, because and that's something hard to do, and I've rarely even seen people in real life, and they I forgot what they call that, but it's like one chapter is first person and one chapter is third person. I've rarely even seen somebody who can. I've only maybe seen one or two books where somebody achieved that successfully. Other than that, it can get confusing. But even now, when I read stuff, you just read something, you can tell like, bruh, did you do any of the right, and did you just you can enhance your words and stuff, but you can tell. It's just I'm not even talking about a book. I'm just talking about an email, an obituary, anything like, right, this ain't got no soul to it. Did you just put it in there? Did you just tell AI you fed it, you didn't, do nothing to it. So I think people who are true readers, they can tell. And
because they want the feeling. I think what me as I'm only going to speak for me. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Me as a reader, I'm looking for the feeling. I'm looking for that, I can hang on to this part, or this part made me cry, or this part made me laugh. I need that. I don't like when it's just mundane and you just telling me the story.
Yeah.
No, I need to feel the story.
Yeah, and the story, and one of my things, the story is often told best through dialogue. Yes. And the feeling behind that dialogue. Just like I said, I don't care how much you train a model, it can't give you that feeling of heartbreak. It's gonna be too many words. Like it's just almost like how I don't know about other people, but growing up, always Mary was my favorite. give you like, hey, this person I've been through some heartbreak. I know, I know them ninjas done did her dirty. Like, because I can feel it. You AI, you reading it, you can't. It's never gonna be because it's never had the lived experience. It's never had the lived experience of what it's like to be. It can probably tell in descriptions from models that it's read, but you can't feel to be in America. Like that is when we see other black people, we hear other black people, read other black people's experience, we can feel it because we've been through. No matter sometimes that we got people who gonna act like I haven't experienced that, or I'm from a different class, but there's just some feelings that I don't care what class you are. If you come from urban or rural, there's just some black experiences that we all are gonna live, and there is no AI model has lived that. So it's just some stuff that, like, no matter where you go in this country, north or south, or east or west, like there's some sayings that if I say it right now, me and you know what you're supposed to say. We know what the response is supposed to be.
Right.
And and that's why other people, when they try to write us and they're not of the same race, it is inauthentic. So that's the same way it's going to come across with AI. It's not going to give you that feeling.
Right. I agree with you. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today. I so appreciate you. I'm so happy to have met you. I've been anticipating this interview. You asked Toy. I was like, okay, Toy, what about these questions? We was talking about it last night briefly. I said, okay. She's like, make sure you ask this. And I was like, okay. She said, make sure that you pretty that part up.
And I'm so happy to be here. And I mean, listen, I watched you and your friends. Like I tune into y'all live sometime, and just finding the book talk community, the Black book talk community, and finding y'all, And I remember the first time I think I came on somebody's live, I didn't realize, I'm not going to go into that story, but somebody that had interviewed a certain male. And I'm like, oh, hey, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. A very controversial interview. And I think all y'all were on live. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe, like, you're the girl from the interview because, the interview went viral. And I remember watching it. I didn't even have to watch the interview because I already knew how that person was. And I had experienced that person. And that's what, from something me and you talked about at the beginning of this, that person, listen, he is who he is. But I just remember just seeing her, just seeing like y'all on live and like, how cool everybody was, how down to earth y'all were. And I was like, okay. I was like, I love you too, y'all. I have not been watching the comments because if I watched the comments, I would not have been able to concentrate. So, yeah, just watching y'all, I mean, it's cool. So sometimes I would just, tune in while I'm driving and listen, but just, finding the community and the camaraderie on, because I would pick TikTok up, put TikTok down. I remember before the pandemic, I remember telling my friend Tamika, I said, hey, the next, we really need to focus on building TikTok too, because that's going to be the next big thing. And I just saw that because at the time, like I would have a client, their kids, like my daughter had been on it since it was Musical.ly. So, and kids come over who might not talk, but they would get with my daughter, start doing videos or walking through Lowe's and my daughter propping up her phone. I see other kids. So I was like, hey, TikTok is going to be big. So, but then I started performing well on other platforms. But then, and I had never really found the book talk community before. So just coming back over, like once I started really getting on the platform again, and I saw you guys, and then I started finding more Black book talkers, and I mean, and it's amazing. And so I don't know what's gonna happen with this app because it's been working real tricky the last couple of days.
Oh my God. Well, I think that, right now for me, Instagram is a constant for me right now. Instagram and YouTube are a constant for me. I don't know if book talk or the book folk is moving somewhere else. I don't know what we're gonna do, but once we figure it out, trust me, you'll know.
Okay, and we'll all be there, and
I will make sure you know where we are, but I know that what I try and do is once I create content, I just try and spread it across all the same social medias because I don't know what's going to happen. And I try and make sure that people just know how to find me. So speaking of that, where can the people find you?
Well, on Instagram, Facebook, I am Danny Santiago. I think I'm Danielle Santiago on Facebook, author Danielle Santiago. I think my Instagram and my Facebook are linked. And you can find me on here on TikTok, and you can find my books wherever books are sold. Get them back into the algorithm. And
listen, I'm going to suggest y'all, she said start with Little Ghetto Girl. I'm going to go read it. Y'all go read it. Don't be mad if I be in your DMs talking about, girl, what the hell? It ain't to you. Because I be feeling the story.
Just remember, I was 21 back then and I was outside. So, but I think once you read it and you read the other books, you'll see the progression. And like I said, I think Grinding was very well written. So it was my favorite. So, and it was, I had matured a bit by the time I wrote Grinding, and definitely about Allure the Game. So, and The Conglomerate, y'all, I love The Conglomerate. I think I wrote The Conglomerate, I was in my 30s. So I think y'all would really, really like that one too.
I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to make sure. I think me and Toya are supposed to be reading Little Ghetto Girl. She's going to reread it. I'm going to read it so that me and her can have our own little discussion. And
when y'all read it, look, I'll hop online and talk about it with y'all. Anytime. It could be impromptu or whatever. Just, just let me know.
Don't tip me with a good time because I'm lady, you remember you said.
Listen, I'm there, girl. Look, I'm there. I'm in the house. Look, I'll be there. And I'll keep tuning in.
Again, I thank you again for paving the way for us authors now, for me becoming an author, for the authors that are here, because without you and your hard work in creating lanes for us, where would we be? Where would we be? So thank you so much.
Thank me, and thank you for the recognition. But it was a huge effort. It took a lot of people, and the ones who came before me, and just everybody keep writing, and just keep utilizing and using my story, my peers, the people who came before us. Just keep, building on to that, and it's great gains to be had, and if the thing is, the money, even if it's your passion. But if you want to be able to put yourself into the passion, you have to be able to have income too. So if you just the money will come, and just stand on business. Take care of your business. If that's anything I can give you for this industry, take care of your business. And so just
research. Sure. It's okay to research.
Read.
You're getting flowers. Someone say great interview. Toya sent you flowers in the comments. Author Vera sent you flowers.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I truly appreciate it, y'all. And I'm sorry. I'm one of those people, I cannot read the chat and do the interview at the same time because I would have been like all over the place. So I needed to concentrate. But thank you, everybody. And thank you so much for having me. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I enjoyed this. And it was a great interview. And you are a great interviewer. So let me give you your flowers. And listen, give you your flowers for what you do for the industry and bringing recognition to authors. And I think you do a great job. And I think listen, I'm glad I got to be here now. Huh? I'm glad I got to be here right now, but I think I see, you're consistent, you're hardworking, and I feel like, things are going to get brighter and brighter. So please, please, please keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good day. Y'all know next week. Oh, before we go, next week I have Sorry, Shannon, I got paper moving. She told me to put it all on my computer, but I don't have my calendar on the computer. So next week on Saturday, I have author Takara. And then Sunday, February 8th, I have a 2-for-1. So at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have author Crystal Armstead. Super excited to talk to her. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have author Britt W. So I have 3 interviews next week. I will see you guys in the week, maybe later on today. But love y'all.
All right.
See y'all later.
Y'all
And
have a good night. Stay warm if you're on the East Coast. Bye.
Please.